Happy Friday and another happy lunch break webinar. This is the final part 4 of financial fitness titled It's a Lifestyle. And if you missed part 1, part 2, and part 3, and after this is over with, part 4 will be available on our YouTube channel titled Financial Storehouse. So again, check out all the previous lunch break webinars as well as this series, Financial Fitness, at our YouTube channel, Financial Storehouse. So again, it's a lifestyle. If you missed last week's, catch up a little bit real quick. Bulking up. Weekend before that was trimming down. Trimming down, we looked at 3 different areas where we can trim down. A lot of popular areas that we trim down in restaurant spending, in entertainment, as well as our monthly car payment. Those 3 areas, if we focus on those, we can trim down anywhere between $600 to $700 a month. Where do I come up with that number? Well, the average car payment's $470 a month, plus some restaurant areas, plus some entertainment areas, anywhere between $600-700 a month you can trim down. Now, that also means making a sacrifice. If you're in love with that truck, or you're in love with that sports car, it might be hard to let go of that and downsize to a car that has no payments, or downsize to a car that goes to $100 a month payments, so that we can eliminate that debt quicker and use our income to knock out the rest of that small car payment. So yes, it's a monthly payment that it can be trimmed down if you want to make that sacrifice. Now again, if your income's $500,000 a year and you're blessed with that monthly car payment might not be affecting you like it's going to affect someone that's making $50,000-$60,000 a year with that $400-500 monthly car payment. But again, if you are blessed with that $500,000 a year income, I encourage you to be intentional with your income and save up $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to go pay cash for that vehicle. If you're that successful, let's not borrow any money and make any interest payments to anybody else's bank. Let's put money in our mutual funds, money in our retirement accounts, and allow that interest to work for us. So trimming down those 3 areas, entertainment, restaurant, and your car payment. Bulking up last week, part 3, bulking up, we talked about, okay, once we're done eliminating those debts and we're trimming down, use those incomes, use those funds in our income to bulk up. Okay, I want to share out of Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 5, verse 12. So Ecclesiastes 7, verse 12, it says, wisdom is a shelter as money is a shelter. But the advantage of knowledge is this: wisdom preserves those who have it. Wisdom preserves those who have it. So do we all have a lot to learn? Absolutely. Do I have a lot to learn? Absolutely. But if we continue to seek wisdom, continue to seek the kingdom, continue to seek areas that we can strengthen our relationship with God and strengthen our relationship with our neighbors, continue to preserve that wisdom. But also, too, primarily, our focus is on the kingdom. Our focus is on continuing to have that humility and gain that wisdom and that knowledge in our life. But it also says, too, money is a shelter. Again, the attitude of our primary focus is not money, and it's not relying on that money as our shelter. It starts off verse 12, wisdom is a shelter as money is a shelter. So it's starting off saying wisdom is a shelter as money, not focused primarily on the money, but with that wisdom, a byproduct of stewarding our time, a byproduct of stewarding our professional life and our income. We're gonna have a fruit and a harvest, and a byproduct of that is gonna be money. So bulking up as you're going out there and working and laboring your fields and harvesting, and you're blessed with that income, let's bulk up with it and create our storehouse with that 3 months to 6 months of cash in your savings account or in your money market for not if life happens, but when life happens. Create that storehouse, create that shelter so that when that emergency does happen. Okay, now once you're done with step 3, we're going to apply at least 15% towards bulking up in our long-term investing or in our retirement accounts. If you have a 401k, contribute as much as you can up to that match. If your employer matches 4%, contribute up to that 4% and get that free money. Everything above that, if you're in the income bracket where you're able to open up a Roth IRA, open up that Roth IRA and contribute that money into that. If you still have more to go after you max out your Roth IRA, if you're married or have a spouse that you can open up a Roth IRA and for their name, fund that Roth IRA. And if you still have more to go after you've maxed out both Roth IRAs and you've already funded up to the match in your 401k, go back into your 401k to finish off that total of 15% of your income for long-term investing or retirement. So bulking up there, if you have children or grandkids that you want to allocate towards college, step 5, put a little bit away or whatever you can away in kids' college. Let's bulk up that. There's a lot of good arguments on that. Well, my child's going to work to go to college, and well, yeah, we're teaching them the attitude and the behaviors of work equals pay. We're instructed in God's word that we need to toil, we need to labor our fields. The fruit and the harvest doesn't just come. So we are expected to work, put our hands to work diligently. But whatever we do it for Him and for the mission that He's given us. So yeah, working's not the question. So once we are blessed to work, or we're blessed to have that health to work, and we receive that income, we are going to be able to use certain things in the name of education savings account, in the name of 529s, to allow that money to grow tax-free. Okay, so that as we're teaching our children along the way, work equals pay, and as long as they continue to work and stay in compliant with our family values and with what we stand for, you're able to use those funds to fund their college or to fund the expenses that qualify in those 529s for when they get to that age. Because whether you're funding college with cash flow and if you're able to do that and just pass that 529 or education savings account on to them, and that money grew tax-free, awesome. But if you're not able to cash flow college at that point in their life, you have that money that grew tax-free for that situation. All right, so and then step 6, we're throwing a little bit extra at the mortgage. And the step 7 that we all are striving to get to is to give more, save more, and live more. At this point, the mortgage is paid for. We're completely debt-free. We're consistently adding to our retirement account. So that was kind of a rundown of trimming up and a rundown of bulking up, or trimming down and a rundown of bulking up. So today it's a lifestyle. Okay, we're gonna sometimes we might need to replenish our emergency fund. Okay, sometimes we're gonna go through seasons where we're adding in that bulking up that we talked about. Sometimes there's a season where we're adding to our emergency fund to get an even stronger emergency fund, maybe 6, 7, 8 months of an emergency fund. And then there's going to be those dry seasons where we're using or depleting that emergency fund because that new car or that repair of the hot water heater or getting a new roof, or hopefully we're saving for a new roof, but that leak that came through the roof, whatever that emergency may be. But it's a lifestyle, meaning this is a journey that we're going on for here on out. And if we get bumped off the road and we're depleting our emergency fund, we roll up our sleeves, pick right back up where we left off, and don't stay in that situation of we're continuing to use our savings account. Let's get back to that season of taking part-time jobs if we have to, taking whatever we need to do to cut back on our entertainment, to cut back on our lifestyle, to get that emergency fund back up. And then now we're and now we're cruising into, okay, all of a sudden breakthrough happens. If we get a stable job or more income comes our way, we're constantly being intentional throughout the lifestyle that we have, throughout this journey that we're on, because it's a lifestyle. At the beginning of every month, whether you're blessed and you got a great stability in your job, we have to take the time with our partner to be intentional about what we're dreaming about. Have fun with it. Sit kneecap to kneecap, have some coffee, have your favorite cold beverage, sit on the front porch, sit on the back porch, or go to the beach. Have those times where, I know it's a little nerdy and we talk about the budget being a nerdy word, but have fun with it. It doesn't have to be a meeting of an annual meeting of 6 hours where you're boxing over this budget. Again, keep it at the max 30 minutes to an hour. Compromise and talk about different areas. If you want to go to the restaurant more, okay, let's compromise and figure out how much more we're going to raise our restaurant budget. Or if you're scraping and scratching to fund that cruise that you want to go on 6 months from now, each month we're talking about how much we're allocating towards that cruise. Or, talk about if you want to do Christmas bigger this year. Let's talk about how much more are we allocating in those Christmas funds for when December does get here. Okay, so it's a lifestyle, meaning it's continuous, guys. It's never going to end, and that's a good thing. I understand the word budget and those things are not fun to talk about, and they're not fun to ponder on. But when you start seeing those fruits and the benefits of being intentional with the money that you're blessed to have, it's rewarding. And it's like when we talked about the trimming down, it's like getting on that stair stepper, getting on that half marathon, or getting on that, you name that cardio exercise, that. But the reason why we do it is because we love the results that it brings to us. Whether it's we feel better, we have more energy, or we know we just have to do it to stay healthy throughout this lifestyle or throughout this journey that we're on. That's the same thing that we're doing. No one likes talking about a budget. Well, some of us nerds do, but it's not something that we're just pumped about, or a lot of people are pumped about. But at the same time, we know the results that it can bring us. So again, this is a general statement for the average income, or for the folks that are, a household income that, whether it's $70,000 a year or $200,000 a year or $500,000 a year, if you steward your income and steward your time, see the fruits and the results that you get are amazing. And I'm not talking about just consistently adding to your mutual fund and all of a sudden 5 years later you're seeing growth from that. I believe that when we are intentional and that we are on this lifestyle of being intentional, we see manifestation. We see things come in favor because we're being responsible with little things and being responsible with the stuff that we've been blessed with, and we'll be faithful with the greater things. So it's a lifestyle. Again, some of y'all, this is bad news that it never ends. But some of y'all that are on this journey, that have already seen some fruit, that have been with me for a while, or doing these things of just common sense, of being intentional and having a budget, that result really fuels and pushes you to do those things that you just know that are uncomfortable to do on being intentional, or making sacrifices of not going out to eat because you've already depleted your restaurant money for that month. Or all right, it's the first of the month, honey, let's sit back down and do that budget. Take a deep sigh, take a deep breath. You don't like to do it, but you like the results. Okay. So be thinking right now while I'm talking, or I'm going to take a 5-second break to get some water and slow down. But be thinking over these next 5 seconds after I ask this question: what areas in your lifestyle could you be more intentional on? Not just the budget area, but what areas in your lifestyle could you better steward your time, better steward your lifestyle on, still able to enjoy life, but steward your giving, steward your saving, and steward your living more. So take a few seconds to think on certain areas of your life that you could better manage. Okay, so because this is a lifestyle and because this is a journey, I want to turn the page and talk about the impacts and the results of not only the monetary gain of doing this, but I want to talk about the results of family members, of kids, of nephews, of nieces, of grandkids that are watching this lifestyle. You know, my wife and I were at Waffle House for eating breakfast the other morning, and I know this sounds very lovey-dovey, but we were just holding hands on the table, and about 5 minutes went by. We weren't holding hands anymore, and our oldest son Neelan goes and grabs Shannon, my wife's, hands, and he's there just holding her hands, and it hit me again, or it reminded me again that the quote that Rachel Cruz uses so much is so much more is caught than taught. And I love that because it is the absolute truth. So much more is caught than taught. We can teach things until the cows come home. You know, I can teach these lunch break webinars consistently, you know, but what you catch is going to be so much more influential. You know, what your kids see and catch on to by witnessing it, and by hearing the dialogue of you and your spouse, or you and your accountability partner, or if you don't have kids, you know, someone that is watching you is seeing this stuff take place and hopefully incorporating it in their lifestyle. So for an example, you know, with my wife and I talking about what our dream is for 5 years from now, or what our dream is for next year, or what vacation we want to go on, so we need to save up for it over these next 6 months. You know, by having just those simple conversations around the dinner table, or while we're in the car driving to Crestview, you know, by having those conversations, they're just picking up on those things because so much more is caught than taught. So it's a lifestyle. You know, I know right now we're talking about it because it's a lunch break webinar, but I'm not suggesting that your constant dialogue and your constant communication around the house is about stewarding and being intentional with your money. You know, it's no, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, when you are having those conversations, it's so healthy because it is being caught. It is being picked up on and incorporated in their lifestyle, whether you like it or not. And on the flip side of that, if we're not careful, some of the bad things that we're talking about, or some of the bad things that we're watching, or some of the bad things that we're listening to, or some of the arguments that we just might get frustrated and our blood pressure boiling, that stuff is being caught as well. So again, stewarding your time, stewarding your lifestyle, it's not only about the mutual funds, the 401ks, or getting out of debt. Those things are great. But by doing those things, it's such a bigger impact than just us. It's your kids. It's your grandkids. It's your great grandkids that you might not ever meet. It's your great great grandkids that you might not ever meet. These things over time, yes, your 401k, if you do these things and you're allocating automatic transactions into your 401k each month, yes, over 5 years, 10 years, that's going to grow. That's great. Love it. That's just a byproduct and a result of you being intentional and stewarding the income you've been blessed to have. But even a bigger impact than that is a couple things. One, the legacy that you're leaving through them inheriting a characteristic of being intentional, living within their means, spending less than they earn. Those things are being picked up and making a huge impact over your family tree over generations to come. And a second thing, you're using those fruits, you're using that margin in your life to just bless the socks off of people. You know, we all have the opportunity to give something, whether it's giving financially, giving our abilities that we're blessed to have, you know, giving in certain ways we can give. But when we do those things in a monetary form, that extra fruit that we have in a monetary form, and just able to bless the socks off of folks, that is awesome and very, very, very rewarding. You know, we're not giving to get any what's the word I'm searching for, notoriety or any self-glorification. But what I mean by it feels so good is that when you go pay that power bill for that neighbor and they have no idea, who paid the power bill, it just feels good. Or the water bill for that person that's in your church that could use a little pat on the back, and they have no idea who it is. There's something that happens in your soul. There's something that happens in the makeup of your DNA that just feels good about giving. And again, we all have something to give, whether it's through our abilities, through our talents. But today we're talking, or this moment right now, we're talking about money. When we do that, it just feels great. And when we sow that seed into a good soil that we can give in that monetary form, not only does it feel great, but just watch what happens in your life. You're not doing it to get any monetary return, but when you do those things and you talk about those things with your spouse, or you're talking about who you want to bless with your spouse, and your kids are picking up on doing those things, or you're incorporating your kids in your giving, there's an impact that not only is impacting the kingdom, but it's impacting your family, or it's impacting the ones that you're influencing. So it's a lifestyle, y'all. I can't stress enough how important it is to be intentional each month with your lifestyle, with your time, with your health. But today we're talking about money and incorporating these things in your lifestyle. And it starts with meeting together at least once a month on the old handy dandy budget, compromising, iron out a budget. Reminder that it might take 3-4 months to get to a good compromise in a situation of you have a good handle on what your household budget is. But get there. Start today. If you haven't dusted your budget off in 6 months or a year or 5 years, now, why not? We got March starting on this weekend. Pick up where you left off and just do it. Okay? Who cares on what situation you're at financially? If you're bleeding financially or you're financially prosperous, doing great, we have to be intentional regardless of where we're at. And as always, if you need any feedback or need any assistance, don't hesitate to email me, info@financialstorehouse.com. And also, too, want to plug, we have a great series coming up in March titled March Madness. So get your college basketball brackets ready. It's going to be a good series. So another great lunch break webinar. I hope to see y'all next Friday. And please, please, please don't ever forget, give more, save more, and live more.